The Securities and Exchange Commission has warned Nigerians to avoid unregistered digital asset platforms, labeling them illegal. This comes amid growing concerns over CBEX, a trading platform whose users recently reported withdrawal difficulties. During a virtual session on the Investment and Securities Act 2025, SEC Director General Emomotimi Agama cautioned against engaging with unregulated operators. And CBEX, which promises 100% monthly returns in US dollars and referral bonuses, has denied collapse claims, citing internal policies for the delays. However, public fears persist, with many comparing the platform's model to a potential Ponzi scheme. Now we have Kikelomo Shodeko, a risk consultant, join us to discuss this. Thank you so much, Kikelomo, for coming around.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for having me. Now,
according to the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, in the last 25 years, Nigerians have lost a cumulative of about 1.005 trillion naira to Ponzi schemes and related fraud. So is it difficult to identify platforms or financial systems that look like Ponzi, so to speak? Or why is it that Nigerians continue to invest in such?
Okay, so is it difficult? Certainly not. Like, if it's so good to be true, then it is too good to be true, right? Of course, the only part I can say about that is, of course, Jesus Christ is still good to be true, and he is still good to be true. So that's set aside. But what happens to these Ponzi schemes is that, you know, they are presented in a way that seems like people can get rich quickly. So I can assure you that they have very good platforms. Their website is top-notch. It's quick to put in the money, quick to withdraw. So it's very simple. They make it very simplistic. It's not complicated, these platforms. But what we fail to understand is that the groundwork is not on the platform. The groundwork are the people that are exploited. So if one person is able to do one thing and is able to get a return as quickly as possible, then we will see a reoccurrence of it. So as we all know, the last popular one was the MMM. That's about, I think, 9-ish years ago. And if that didn't even need a platform, they used another means of communication. They used phones, WhatsApp, messaging systems to get that done. They didn't need a platform for that. So the difference is that CBEX upgraded and started using a website to do theirs. So that's the comparison we can do with that. Thank you.
Now, some people actually blame it on the harsh economic situation. I mean, inflation just rose to about 24.3%. So what do you think? Maybe that's one reason whereby Nigerians are actually using to say, okay, if I can make money here, why don't I?
So, yes. So on one side, we have like a larger population. About 60% of people say the reason they go and put their monies in these places is because of the economic downturn. But on the other hand, let's look at it psychologically, is that, okay, you are downturn, you have small money, and you still have the audacity to put that same money in a quick rich scheme, you know? So on one hand, it does look like it's an economic thing, but on the other hand, it's majorly greed, you know? So that's how we'll look at it. Thank you.
All right. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria severely warned about Ponzi schemes offering unrealistic returns. I mean, it's part of the things that you said. But I'd like to understand, any idea how that of CBEX platform now, the current one that has made Nigerians lose about 1.3 trillion naira, how it was able to still manage its presence to attract such a large following?
Okay, so let's put it in perspective. Like I said, they upgraded compared to the other ones. How did they upgrade? First and foremost, they have a website, you know, a website that works, not just a simple website where it's difficult to click this or click that. They had a website, one. The second thing was they did a groundworking, that is the grassroots. They hit the grassroots. They did not hit high-end customers. They hit people like market women, people on the streets, people that are fending for themselves. And if you check, it does not necessarily have to be a large amount of money. As low as 10,000, as low as 5,000, and you get to bring more people and you get to make more money. So you're getting the drift, right? So first and foremost, have a solid platform for the educated ones that feel like, okay, I think this is better, so we can use this, the website. And for crying out loud, guess what? they did not use Naira. They were using dollars. It's amazing, right? So people made a lot of money because the website was fantastic. So for the slightly educated people that can use a website to move their money in and out, it seems safe. Two, the groundwork, using the locals, that is the people on the ground, the market women, the carpenters, the meat sellers, whatever, whoever you are at the lowest level, you can still invest in this kind of funds. Three, as long as you have done the necessary processing to register your company, it is done, right? You have a company location. Nobody's doing the groundwork. Nobody's doing the groundwork to test or check if everything this company said they were is what they are. So there's no checks and balance in that sense. As long as you are registered and you have an address, that seems to solve the problem. Then, of course, apart from the law that the proposition that was made by one of the senators in 2022, nothing has to do with anything on Ponzi schemes. You know, we just have that law that just says, okay, nobody should be allowed to, you know, steal from others after using investment process. So those are the things I believe were what opened up the people to this kind of scheme, to this kind of Ponzi again, you know. And I can assure you, it's not just in Nigeria. And I can even tell you currently that as this is ongoing, there are other Ponzi schemes happening underneath, and they're just waiting to be exposed.
I mean, I actually did, you know, a research on the number of Ponzi schemes. I couldn't exhaust the list. I mean, it was more than 1,000. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you talked about checks and balances, you know, people having to prove or to probably do some sort of security checks on these companies, either physical or virtually. But then don't you think that is a regulatory lapse on the part of the Securities and Exchange Commission and even the CBN? Because some Nigerians are saying that if they had actually done due diligence, they probably would have been able to track this company and stop it before it festers and you start seeing people, you know, putting their money into it.
Yeah, not even if they were able to bypass most of the other requirements, they could have been found out and told to stop as quickly as possible, right? So let's even say maybe they were able to produce all the necessary documents to register and do all the necessary things. But what is also important to note is that in the midst of it, there should have been a check to say, oh, who are these guys? What is unfair to me is that the SEC cannot say they did not hear about CBEX. Do you get what I mean? Because this is a human interaction type of thing. Somebody would have told somebody that would have told somebody that there is something ongoing that they need to check out. But because we don't take advantage of moments and of times to secure the lives and properties of the people, this kind of things get out of hand, and before they can actually act appropriately, it's gone, it's too late. So I would say, let's say in the beginning they were able to bypass all the checks and balances in that place, you know, the requirements are rock solid and they are registered and everything. But the next level will be that in the midst of their activities, none of the financial statutory bodies was able to say, oh, guys, or put out a notice and say, guys, we've seen the activities of a new Ponzi scheme. This is CBEX, and I believe that this is a Ponzi scheme and you should not put your money in it. But we didn't have anything like that, so it was a free-for-all, and this is the outcome, sadly. Yeah. Okay,
wow, fantastic. Just about a minute, Kike. Now, what actually struck me the most was the clear out of the funds from the platform's account into an ETH wallet, about 1.3. I mean, that's a lot of money. So doesn't it mean that this money can't be traced and retrieved? I mean, I thought we had some sort of regulation over crypto. I'd like to get your response in about a minute.
Oh, like I said, so let me give you an idea of how things work in our country. Most of whatever move that is being made is always politically related, right? It's necessarily not to be a checks and balance, but a political move. Yeah, well, using the word political kind of sound like I'm making it a bad word, but you know, when we say political in Nigeria, rather than make it a solid type of checks and balance that is beneficial to the people, we make it a move against the other person, like maybe against an opposition party, an opposition governor, an opposition president, or whatever it is. So rather than do a solid check and balance that is beneficial, and that process can be used again and again, no matter who is in who is the governor, who is the president, or whatever. We don't do that. So when we say there are checks on crypto,
okay,
how far do those checks go? Because that's the question. Who was the attack on when they talked about crypto? 2, tracing that money is too late, because even the law says that they cannot retrieve. No investor can get their money back. So almost like the law is punishing the investor to say that if you don't know better, then I'm sorry, your money is gone. The only redress that can be sought in this kind of situation is that maybe jail term, which was one of the propositions of that I think Honorable Ibrahim, I think. That was the only thing, that if you are caught, if you are persecuted as someone that has run a Ponzi scheme, you could be in jail for 10 years. So that's the only redress there is. So if it's moving from one wallet to another, or there's supposed to be a checks and balance on crypto, it shows that those checks and balance are just in name only. They're not in the reality of it.
So let me just give our viewers a little bit of hope, most especially those who are actually caught in this financial scam. Now, EFCC has said it's going to be partnering Interpol to track the perpetrators of that 1.3 trillion naira scam. But so let's hope they get caught. I mean, probably people can get their money back. But thank you so much, Kikelomo Shodeko.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the show.
Yeah.